Home prices change all the time, but this time it's going to change for good. Through my many years of being a real estate agent, I've never seen a market like this. In this video, I will tell you exactly how to manage the market and how to navigate it so it benefits you the best way possible, and how you can maximize this change to make it work for you. Stick around to the end to know the exact steps you need to take to make this change a positive one. Remember hearing doomsayers proclaiming the market was ready for a crash? The market is actually up 5% year over year. The median sales price has gone up to $214 per square foot, and the average days on market has been reduced by 10% to only 41 days on the market. The housing market is driven by three key things. First is supply, the amount of current inventory on the marketplace. Today, we have a 2.76 month supply of homes on the market. A typical or average market is anywhere from 4 to 6 months. The second thing is buyer demand. Our average days on market is 41. That's down 10% from last year, and a balanced market is anywhere from 30 to 60 days. We have a balanced market where it takes an average home 41 days to buy or to sell. The third thing that drives the market are interest rates. Interest rates impact the cost or your expense to buy a home. Today, we are actually on track and a little below the average or median historical interest rate. Since Freddie Mac began tracking interest rates in April of 1971, the average interest rate has been 7.41%. We currently are in the high sixes, around 6.95 as our interest rate today. So let's check out some historical data and see how that impacts interest rates. As you look at these data points, you're going to see two images come across your screen. Historical 30-year mortgage rates from 1971 to 2024 with a bar graph. The second image is going to be a year-by-year analysis of the average 30-year rate. What's interesting, as you look at these rates, you're going to see a high average rate from 1978 to 1991, with it peaking at 16.04 in 1982 as an average. On the right-hand side of the chart, you're going to see the average 30-year rate was abnormally low from 2010 to 2021, with a low average of 2.96% in 2021. What drove these abnormally high and abnormally low interest rates? Well, in the early 1980s to the 1990s, you were battling inflation. So they increased the interest rate to pull down inflation, and in 2010 to 2021 you were coming out of the Great Recession. They're trying to pull the market and the economy back into a sense of normalization. For 2023, our average interest rate hovered right around 6.81%. From 1978 until 1991, we battled historically high interest rates as we battled inflation. From 2010 to 2021, we experienced abnormally high interest rates as the economy was pulling out of the Great Recession. So why do rates go up and down year over year, month over month, week over week, and day over day? Because the government is constantly trying to equalize the market. They're always battling two key factors, inflation and unemployment. As inflation goes up, interest rates will go up to curb spending. As unemployment goes up, interest rates will go down to increase spending opportunities for a smaller income potential. So what does that mean for us in 2024? Well, it means rates historically are going to stay right where they're at. We're in the sixes to the low sevens for the long haul in 2024. The reality is we're still experiencing growth as a nation, and the housing demand is outpacing the housing capacity. What does that mean for you if you're planning to buy a home this year? Chances are very likely that home prices will increase year over year. A crash is not imminent or coming soon, and it's time to jump into the marketplace. I always recommend, if you can financially afford to buy a home, it is always worth getting into a property. Not only does it improve your net worth, your quality of life, but it also helps you establish your community and your family. If you can financially make a home purchase work, you should always get into a home. It is the greatest tool for increasing wealth, creating stability, and increasing your life satisfaction. Many people ask, well, how do I know if I'm financially able to get into a home? 4 key things I like to go over with buyers. Number 1, are you debt-free or close to it? Number 2, do you have a fund, a rainy day or emergency fund that can take care of expenses that you will expect to incur as you own a house? If the water heater goes out, the AC unit breaks, whatever it is, you want to make sure you have funds in place. You're not house poor in the process of owning a new property. House payments should hover around 30% or less of your income. And then you'll want to have some cash reserves to prepare for things like closing costs or fees that are associated with a home purchase. So what are some key strategies you should use when you prepare to buy your next home? Number 1, get pre-approved. Don't start shopping until you know you can afford the house you want to buy. Number 2, get comfortable with the idea of your payment and make sure it works with your monthly budget. Number 3, get crystal clear on exactly what you want and what your must-haves and nice-to-haves will be in your home purchase. Number 4, become comfortable with the 80-10-10 rule. That's 80% of you love the home, 10% you don't like it, but you can change it, and 10% you can live with it. You have a winner if you can fit your home purchase into that 80-10-10 rule. Number 5, understand the cost of new construction versus existing residential. Everybody wants to buy new, but there are costs associated with buying new. You have to put in landscaping. You might have to finish off a basement. You maybe have to put solar panels on your home. Whereas when you buy existing, those costs are already built into the final purchase price. And finally, get connected to the correct professionals. Yeah, I'm talking about real estate agents. Yes, I'm talking about lenders. And get connected to people that can help give you guidance on what a home purchase looks like today. I recently had experience where I talked to someone who called on one of my home listings. I was talking to her about how long she's been looking in the marketplace, and it's been roughly about 5 months. I asked her, oh, why has it been so long? She said, well, we've just been looking on our own here and there. And I said, oh, cool, what is your timeline? She said, well, I thought we were gonna get into a home by January of this year. It's now March. And I said, okay, well, how is that timeline working for you now? She said, it's not great. I said, well, would you like help in working with a trusted professional to make this purchase process more seamless, streamlined, and easier for you? She said, no, I think we're okay. Most people can agree, swimming does not mean you simply dip your toe in the water. As a 15-year-old boy, I worked at Camp Bartlett as a lifeguard and a swim instructor. We would have young men come up to our camp and to our lake who wanted to learn how to swim. The first thing they had to do if they wanted to learn how to swim was to actually get into the water. And then we would work with them on learning the new strokes, how to do a front crawl, how to float on their back, and how to get confident in the water. As they got more and more confident, they became more and more capable of swimming. It's no different with a home purchase. I recently had a buyer call me off of a sign call, and she said, hey, I'd like to come see your house. Went through that process, and I asked her how the home purchase process was going for her. She said, it's not going great. I've been looking for months and months and months. And I asked her if she was connected to a real estate professional to help her understand the market and get into more homes. She told me no, and that she really wasn't interested. Well, in connection to the story, guys, she will never learn how to swim because she's not willing to jump in the water. If you want to jump in the water and expedite and make your home purchase process more efficient and effective, get connected to a trusted professional that can teach you the strokes and how to jump into the swimming market of real estate. As a seller, how can you become a little more prepared to be successful in this changing market? Every single home I go into, there are 5 consistent themes throughout every single home that if a seller took these exact steps, they would find they would earn more money and sell in a quicker timeline to sell their home. What are those 5 C's? Well, the first of those 5 C's is going to center around all the stuff we have in our home. I know, you're not a hoarder, I'm not a hoarder, but guess what? We all have way too much stuff in our home. The first thing to get rid of is clutter. Make a list and go through your entire home and identify everything you don't need that you can get rid of. What are some key rules that you can tell people? Well, when I went into a home just this last week, I walked into their living room space. When I was in the living room, they had 3 couches, they had 1 TV, they had 2 end tables, they had a coffee table in the middle of the room, and they had a bookshelf on the side. You guys, that's way too much stuff for one single room. One thing you can do in your room today is use the 50% rule. Go into that room and identify 50% of the things you can remove and that will make your space feel so much bigger. Second thing that you can do. I recently walked into a seller's home. I walked up the staircase, and directly in front of me was a wall that was painted orange. You've got it, bright neon orange in your face in a residential home. I turned to her and said, "Your wall is orange." She says, "Yes, I love the color orange." You guys, I'm glad that she likes the color orange, but most people do not. You want to make sure the colors of your home are what most people like for their own home. The third C. I recently walked into a house with a buyer, and as you walked into the house, you felt icky. You've probably all been in those kind of houses where you walk in and you just feel dirty, the walls are grimy, the floors aren't cleaned. If you want to maximize your sales price, clean your house. Now, pro tip, when you really want to showcase how clean your house is, make sure the baseboards are cleaned. Make sure the blinds are cleaned off. Make sure your fan blades are clean. Make sure your walls, when you touch it, it feels nice and clean. The fourth one, make sure that the things that most buyers expect your home to be nice are actually nice. The condition of your home is critical to your ability to sell the home for top value. Number 5 closely aligns with clutter, but for bigger items. So when you go into a room, you want to make it feel as big and as spacious as possible. I recently walked into a house where you walked into the front entryway, and it was a big front entryway. And yet in that entryway, they had a table. Most people do. They had pictures. They had shoes. They had multiple things cluttered up that space. And it's all about configuration. You guys, I'm trying to make a house feel as big as possible. So if I can remove some of those furniture items or reconfigure that space, it's going to make it better for more people to experience that feeling that your home is open and big and spacious. So there you have it, the 5 C's. If you can make sure that you follow those 5 C's to a T, you're going to sell your home for more money. Have you ever seen a home that sits on the market and sits on the market and sits on the market? You know the one I'm talking about. It's been on the market for 325 days and they haven't changed their price. If you want your home to avoid the cheese touch or the idea that something's wrong with it when nothing really is, make sure you price it correctly. I bet you're a bit like me and you've seen the houses that have sat on the market for days and weeks and months and even years. You guys, why do they sit on the market for so long? Is it because something's wrong with the house? Most cases, it's because they're overpriced. If you want to be more effective at selling your house, price your home correctly for the marketplace you're in. In the Salt Lake Valley, where I live, you have homes on the East Bench that are along the mountainside. You have the homes on the west side that are more on the plains or the fields. If your home is on the west side of the valley, guarantee it's going to be worth a little bit less than those on the East Bench along the more traditional housing areas on the mountainside. Understand that you have to position your home correctly within the framework of your neighborhood. If you overprice your home for what that neighborhood allows, you will sit on the market for an extremely long time. Have you ever seen the show Diary of a Wimpy Kid and the kid who gets the cheese touch? The kid nobody wants to be around or be with because they touched the stinky cheese. Well, often I find homes get that same feeling when they've been on the market for too long. They get the stinky cheese touch. Don't be on the market for too long. Price your home correctly so you can avoid the cheese touch of your house. Just last night, I was watching TV with my wife and we were on Tubi. On Tubi, when you watch the shows, you have commercials interrupt you every 10 minutes throughout the show. But what's fascinating is the same 6 commercials happen again and again every 7 minutes. Well, after the 5th time of watching the same commercial, guess what I did? I actually pulled up and Googled what that item was they were selling. If you want to get more success in selling your house, get it in front of more people on a regular basis and be very aggressive in your marketing. So now that we've talked about buyers, how to get into the market, sellers, how to maximize your position in the market, what's the long-term outlook of the market look like for us? Well, I'll say this, it's an exciting time, so buckle up and enjoy the ride. While none of us have a crystal ball, My number one suggestion is don't wait, but simply make sure your house is in order to sell or your house financially is in order to buy. And once you get to either one of those things, make the jump and move forward on selling or buying your next house. Don't stop living today just because interest rates are high. Don't stop working towards your goals or dreams of tomorrow because you're not financially in the place today that makes sense to move forward on a home purchase. I always tell people, be your best self today so you can power living for yourself tomorrow. Don't be afraid to get connected with the lenders, the agents, and the tools and resources that will help you get clarity on what you can do moving forward. Remember, the home prices that we're experiencing now, they're here for good. They're not going to change. So embrace it. Look at your long-term and short-term goals and jump in and start swimming in the housing market of today. Now that you know that you want to jump into the water, if you're thinking about jumping into the waters of home ownership, you need to know the mistakes to avoid. Watch this video so you don't regret your next move.